Hi friends. Today I want to talk to you about how I taught some sort of abstract concepts. I want to talk about yesterday, today, and tomorrow. I want to talk about ouch. I want to talk about real and pretend. Some of the things that just seem really sort of illogical when you think about teaching them to a non-human. So let's start with yesterday, today, and tomorrow. I decided to add these concepts because now and later just wasn't quite cutting it. I wanted to, number one, understand how Bunny was understanding time, if it differed from how I was understanding it, and so that we could find some common ground there and I could help her understand, if I was going to be gone for a couple of days, when I'd be back. In essence, I wanted her to have a broader temporal understanding than now and later could afford. So, context. Context is everything. So when I'm adding new concepts, new words, especially words and concepts that are abstract, I need to ensure that there is enough context within the words that she already has access to build in this new concept. So she already knows now and later, and I can use activities that we have done. So building in yesterday was actually fairly simple because I could just remind her of the things that happened the day before. So for example, if we had seen Shannon the day before, I could verbally model, yesterday we did see Shannon. And of course, I want to model that verbally in as many different contexts as possible so that yesterday doesn't just come to mean a time when you last saw Shannon, right? It needs to come to mean a time that you did anything the day before today. So I started using that word in a variety of contexts frequently, and I would say it with intention. So not just quickly in passing, because she hears me saying all sorts of words that she's not familiar with all of the time. So I would use it very specifically. Yesterday, you did see Shannon, or yesterday, we did play tug, or whatever the case may be. And the same goes for today and tomorrow. Yesterday, we did see Shannon. Today, no Shannon, but, other friend, or whatever the case may be. Likewise, for tomorrow, sometimes Bunny will really strongly advocate for something to happen that I cannot make happen in this moment. Like, what if she wants to see Shannon today or now? I can say, no Shannon today, but tomorrow we will see Shannon. So this is how I began to build those concepts into verbal modeling. And very quickly, I was able to add the buttons. I don't know if you've had this experience, but what I see a lot and what I've seen with my own learners is that once we get over the hump of building an understanding that pressing a button gives one control, it produces different outcomes. All of my learners have been very interested after they learn that to explore the buttons and see what they can make happen with these new words, new concepts, new control. So once I put those buttons on the board, Bunny very quickly began exploring them. And, if she used them in a way that didn't seem correct to me, I would try and correct her, and I would try and help her frame the words in a context that she did understand, using words that she does know and is familiar with and uses frequently. Let's talk about how I taught the words real and pretend to Bunny. I know that these sound so incredibly abstract, and they were actually some of the easiest abstract concepts to teach. It was very straightforward. Here's exactly what I did. I took objects that she has words for on her board that she's very familiar with, like ball, like otter or dog, human, tug, what else? Some other stuff too, whatever you have on your board that's tangible that you can hold in your hand and show her or him or them, whatever. And I had an iPad, right? So I would hold up her favorite ball. I would say, this is real ball. And then I would have a picture of the same ball on the iPad. And I would say, this is pretend ball. And then I did that with a huge variety of tangible objects. So I did that with dog. This is real dog, otter right here on my left. This is pretend dog, with a photograph of otter on the iPad. And so on and so forth. Yeah, no need to overcomplicate it. I do think that I could continue to model those in more contexts. Her understanding of it is unique and she's using those words in interesting ways, but I think I could broaden that understanding too. And I think I could broaden it for myself as well. These are very abstract concepts. Of course, it's hard to say how any individual sentient being is conceptualizing any concept, but this is a really fascinating one to explore, and I hope you have fun doing so. How I taught the word ouch. This is a very powerful word to have on a button board. It's a very powerful concept to be able to communicate about with your learner for obvious reasons. And I have received the question periodically, how do you teach the concept of ouch without inflicting pain? And there are so many ways, because the last thing I would ever do is inflict pain on any of my animal companions. So one way that I began modeling it was when I was having a lot of tattoo work done. I would come home, the wound is sort of fresh, I would let Bunny smell it, and I would say, ouch, this is ouch, Mom, ouch. Another way, when Bunny got spayed, there was a great opportunity to model that word because I imagined that she was probably in a bit of discomfort. So that was an appropriate time to model ouch. Or when Otter stubbed his toe, he's a little baby, so he could just like step on a rock and be like, oh my goodness, I'm so hurt. Otter ouch. So there are a million ways to model the word ouch without having to inflict any pain. And remember that you don't have to just use ouch in the context of your learner experiencing pain. In fact, it's important to create enough context that the word ouch doesn't just have a singular meaning. You want it to have a broader meaning. You want your learner to be able to express it in as many ways as possible. How I taught the concept of dream to Bunny. Now, I would argue that she actually taught me, because it wasn't a concept that I had considered putting on her board. It seemed far too unrealistic to consider that Bunny might be able to talk about her dreams with me. Me firmly lodged in sort of hopeful skepticism, so that just seemed like a bit much. But what happened is that Bunny was using available words on her board, i.e. she was using night, talk, and sleep in various combinations repeatedly for days and days and days. She was saying night, talk, sleep, what talk, sleep, what night talk, etc. And I couldn't understand what that meant. It didn't have any meaning to me. I thought at first of the obvious explanation that perhaps I was talking in my sleep, but my partner said that I hadn't been, and he hadn't been either, so that wasn't it. And I tried to explore what else it could mean, and nothing salient landed. So I asked some of the researchers that were working with FluentPit and the Comparative Cognition Lab at UCSD if they had any thoughts. One of them suggested that perhaps she might be talking about dreams, and that it might be a good idea to very, very gently wake her from a dream and ask her what talks sleep. So that's exactly what I did. One day she was having a very vocal dream where she was sort of twitching her feet and whimpering a little bit. And I went over to her and I very gently placed my hand on her and I said, hey, Bunny. And she woke up a little bit startled, but not too bad. And I said, what talks sleep? She immediately got up, went over to her board and used two available words, stranger, animal, to seemingly communicate that she was dreaming about a stranger animal. Obviously we take all of this with a grain of salt, but I immediately added a dream button. And right there in the moment, I verbally modeled for Bunny, oh, you dream stranger animal, dream stranger animal. Dream is night, talk, sleep. And after I added the dream button, she, to my knowledge, has never used those combinations of words again, night, talk, sleep, or what talk, sleep. She uses dream instead. So we've been able to explore that a little bit. I think it's important to remember that everyone's journey to these concepts is going to be a little bit different, and that every learner's understanding of these concepts could be as varied as our understanding as abstract concepts can be, which is hugely varied. So, explore, stay open, stay curious, and see what happens. Subscribe.